This podcast is about our parenting fails, because we suck sometimes, and I'm sure you do too. Here we go.
One day I want to find someone who sees the world like me.
What's going on, people? Ben and Brittany here from benandbrittany.net, and today we are going to talk about the grand old subject of our parenting fails. We've had some funny ones, and we wrote them down on a list right here, and I'm going to just read them, and then we will talk more in depth about the stories and how these things came about. So, okay. Our parenting fails include the coffee backfire, Kinsley's pool incident, the paint catastrophe, Kinsley locked herself in the car, Kaylin not wearing underwear to a doctor's appointment and school, telling the girls the police were on their way. Oh, that might be the worst one.
I agree.
That is the worst one.
Don't do that.
We'll get into that one. Kinsley and Kaylin saying things like, I burped my mouth and booty hole. Sorry.
We all know whose fault that is. Not mine.
The time Kinsley stunk up the entire auditorium. And the time Kaylin got an IOU from the Tooth Fairy. Okay, do you want to start with the coffee backfire?
Yeah, so I feel like parents should talk about their fails more often.
Because they're funny and they happen to everyone.
It's funny and it just makes us not feel so crappy about ourselves. But anyway, the coffee backfire. So most of you know I love coffee. I drink coffee every day. Kinsley wakes up in the morning and makes coffee for me with Ben.
It's like a morning ritual for us.
Yeah, coffee is life. So anyway, she really wanted to have coffee one day, like really, really wanted to have it. And I kept telling her, no, you can't drink it. So then I was like, you know what I'm going to do?
Yeah. Well, it got to the point where she was asking so much, she just would not drop it.
Well, it got to the point where she was sneaking it. So I had to put my cup up on higher shelves.
Yeah.
And then I would forget about it, and then it would get cold, or I would lose it. I'd be walking around the house where?
Literally had to hide your coffee.
Where did I put my coffee? And then I would see it on the mantle above the fireplace, and it was because I had to put it up where she couldn't reach it because she was sneaking sips.
Yeah, and she was sneaking sips of fully sugared and creamed up coffee, because Brittany uses
mochas.
A lot of sugar and a lot of cream in her coffee. So that thing is it's like a sweet treat. Yeah. And Kinsley loved it.
Yeah. Who wouldn't? So one day I was like, okay, fine. I'm going to make a fresh pot of coffee and I'm going to give it to her black. No cream, no sugar. I put an extra scoop in, made it extra bitter.
Because ain't no kid on the planet thinking black coffee tastes good.
I don't think black coffee tastes good. So I make it, and she's just all cheery, all smiles, sitting at the table.
Yeah, she's like, I'm as big as mommy. I got my own cup. Oh my God, I'm huge.
I told her, got to blow on it a little bit. It's hot. And then she took a sip, and I'm waiting for her to make that look of disgust. And instead,
yum.
And I was like, crap. But we didn't let it stop there. We didn't let it stop there.
No, we did it with the other one too, and the same thing happened.
Yeah. Ben did it with Kaylin.
Kaylin kept asking me for coffee, and I was like, I'll show you what black coffee tastes like. Try this. Try this. Took one sip and was like, yum. And I was like, oh, man.
Yeah.
And they've just been bugging us for coffee ever since.
They
get one tiny sip a week, maybe. Yeah. But they just never stop bugging us.
I tried to pretend I filled up a cup almost full of milk. And I warmed it up, and then I pretend to pour the coffee in it.
They don't buy it.
Nope, they know.
They know.
Because they know the true taste of coffee.
Yeah, and they like it. So that's parenting fail number 1. We tried to give the girls black coffee in hopes for them to not like it and stop bugging us, and they liked it and bugged us more.
And then Ben did it again.
And I did it again. Number 2 is Kinsley's pool incident. Okay, so let me just tell you guys that before we get into this story, there was no real danger that happened here. But Kinsley was underwater for a second or two right next to me. And this is what happened.
Yeah.
Okay, so Kinsley has her full get up on, her swimmies, her chest thing, everything to keep her afloat. And that's what she's used to. and she started to get like a little bit of a rash, and it was annoying her. So we took it off, and everybody was in the pool except Kinsley was loud on the one step, and we were watching her like a hawk.
And she normally never left that step.
No, she was too afraid, and there was water balloons there at the time, and right next to the step where I was hanging out with Kinsley is the little jet underneath the water on the pool wall that you can easily fill water balloons with. So Kinsley sitting on the step, I am literally 2 feet from her. I turn and I start loading up this water balloon, and I'm filling it up, and all I hear is Brittany go, "Ben!" And I was like so shocked that this scream came out, and I turn around and I look at Brittany, and she is full swim straight towards me, and I'm like, what? And I look down, almost on my right hip is Kinsley underwater, like like Brittany saw the whole thing. She had like seen me filling up the water balloon and just tried to, like, I don't know if she thought the entire pool was the same depth, but she just started to walk out and just fell. Like the step, she didn't know there was a step there, and she just fell to where she couldn't touch, and she's going like this, and we pick her up thinking that she was going to be crying and freaking out, and she wasn't. She was just like, what happened? She was so happy. It was crazy.
Yeah, so from my perspective, I had my eyes on her the entire time, because that's just what you do. If your kids are in the pool, you need to be watching them. And I knew Kinsley didn't have her floaties on because of the whole rash thing. I wasn't very far from her at all.
Yeah.
But we kept telling her, if you don't have your floaties on, you have to stay on the top step. You're not allowed to move. Well, she decided, I think she forgot that she didn't have her floaties on, to be totally honest. Because all of a sudden she just goes, "Mom, watch this." And I was like,
she did say something first.
And I was about to say, no, like, don't move. And then she just went for it. And so then I dove to get to her quicker, and then I pushed her up. And when I yelled for Ben, it was just my first reaction because he was a little bit closer than I was.
Yeah, she yelled Ben, and I had turned past drowning Kinsley to see what my wife wanted. Because she was at like below waist level, so I didn't see it. I just like whipped my head around, and I was like, what?
Yeah.
And,
so, moral of the story is that's why you keep your eyes on your kids, because drowning is silent.
Yeah, because Kinsley was underwater 1.5 feet from me, and I had no idea.
Yeah. But so it's funny now. It's totally funny. I was scared after that.
Yeah.
And
scared anybody.
She was just like, "What happened?" Oh, and to this day, she is not afraid of water, and she's not allowed in the pool fence. So my parents have a gate, and it has a lock on it. Yeah. If she doesn't have her floaties on, she's not allowed past the gate. So.
And that was a rookie moment for me. Like, I didn't realize that I couldn't look away for 3 seconds to fill a water balloon because I was still new to the step parenting thing. Yeah. So that was like a hard lesson learned for me. Like, I felt bad about it. You do not take your eyes off
the child.
Yeah. Oh, man, that was definitely a learning experience.
Speaking of not taking your eyes off your children.
Oh,
so,
number 3.
Yeah, the paint catastrophe.
The paint catastrophe.
In both of our lines of work, we get random phone calls that we think are only going to take a minute, and the next thing you know, they take 20. I had the girls all set up at this very table with their Crayola ultra washable paint, and they had their paper and their canvases all set up so that way they could just paint on their own. We do this regularly, by the way. Like, they paint and do crafts all the time. And I was making dinner right in the other room, and you can't see it, but there's a window, so I can look out as I'm like over the stove. I can look out the kitchen,
everything they're doing,
into the dining room. I can see everything they're doing. Well, I got a work call, and it ended up being about a failed septic system. So it took a lot longer than just a minute, and I got a little distracted on that call and hadn't looked at the painting situation.
No, we left them alone. I was working at the time too, and we left them by themselves.
You were at band practice.
Yeah.
So Ben wasn't even here. He was on his way home.
You said you left them. You didn't look at them for like what, 3 minutes, 5 minutes?
It was probably 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It was probably 5 minutes, and I come out to check on them, and they had moved their painting to, we have bench seats. They had moved them down to the bench seat, and for whatever reason, they decided to use the bench seat as the canvas.
Yeah.
And it was completely covered
It was so bad. Like, I
With
came
paint.
home right around the same time that Mom had discovered the problem because the paint was still wet when I came home.
Yeah.
And the girls were just... It was so bad.
I was trying to clean up the table. Like, I had sent them to the bathrooms to go wash up because Kaylin's old enough to know better. So I was not the happiest of moms.
No, I wasn't either. Like, she knew that what she was doing was not okay.
Yeah.
So we were a little mad at her for that.
We sent them to go get cleaned up. And then I was trying to figure out where to even start. And then Ben came in and he had to take the entire bench into our shower.
I put the furniture in the
Because
shower.
it was so, like, the paint was like, if you're watching, you can see, I mean, it was probably like half an inch thick. Like, they just poured the washable paint tubes all over the bench, and they were just like,
yep, our bench that we're sitting on right now.
Colors.
It was a Picasso. It was.
Yeah.
It was a
on the
huge
bench.
abstract art. Like,
On our
they had
furniture.
their canvases on the
carpet.
bench, and if you picked their canvases up, there was a perfectly clean square there. Like, everything
Was
covered in paint. The floors, the carpet was covered in paint. The table was covered in paint. The benches were covered in paint, and they
I was
just
dying.
thought it was okay. They thought that
They were
could
having a
blame it on
grand
an
old. I
accident.
mean, they had fun. The silver lining is they
Yeah.
had fun. No one died.
But that was a son of a bitch to clean up.
Yeah. And thank God we have this like magical carpet spray because we rent. So I was panicking because I saw this paint on the carpet and I was like,
the carpets.
how washable is this paint?
Hold on. Keep talking. I'm gonna find this stuff.
This stuff is magic. It is super Crayola ultra washable paint is super. That's real estate stuff.
This stuff right here.
Chem Dry.
This is
Spot
Chem Dry,
remover.
world famous spot professional strength remover.
It literally like sprays away the stain. Like I once spilled red wine on the carpet, and Ben was spraying it, and the red wine was disappearing from the carpet. I buy this stuff all the time. If you need a Chem Dry person, tag me. I will tag the Chem Dry person.
We're gonna put a link to this in the description.
Yeah, because it's so awesome. But anyway,
it's legit, guys.
So that was that.
By the way, we're not
story.
paid. We just really like this.
No, yeah, I just love that stuff. I call it the security deposit saver. So that's that story. Moving on to Kinsley locking herself in the car with Ben's cell phone.
Guys, this was the most horrific experience that I have ever gone through in my life. Like, this was mentally taxing. I was so
can we
scared
preface
and so
this
nervous.
too that like no one got hurt, everything worked out fine, but it was so taxing on Ben. He had a show that night, and
I just didn't play well.
He forgot half his stuff at home.
Yeah,
he was just
my
it
brain was
shook
in a
him.
fog the whole day.
It shook him.
That's a good way to put it. I was shook.
Yeah.
So Kinsley and I were going to have a special, just me and her day, right? We were going to go to McDonald's and play and do all this stuff with just her and I, and we were going to bond, and we did all that.
And Kaylin came to a new buyer consultation with me.
Yeah.
It was someone that I knew, but it was kind of her way of having a special time with Mom. She got to have a hot chocolate at Starbucks.
Yeah. So we went our separate
Big deal.
ways with the kids.
Yep.
And so I had Kinsley, and after we were done playing at McDonald's, because they just love that, we drove around. She likes sitting. When she was in my car, she was old enough to be in the front seat in her
car seat.
In her car
Well, it was
seat.
because of the car that you had and the fact that it was filled with all your band equipment.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have it like that anymore.
No, that was just a last resort kind of thing. We were going to McDonald's in the park.
He was super close.
She was super stoked to be in the front seat, and she was loving it. We were driving around together. She was just happy to be in the car. And I drive past the park, and I'm like, do you want to go to the park? And she's like, yeah. We go to the park. We start playing. Everything's honky-dory. We're having a blast. And I go to check in with Mom to let her know that everything's okay. And I realize that my phone is down to 1%. So I take Kinsley to the car, and I plug my phone in, and it doesn't charge unless my car is on. So I plugged my car on, or turned my car on, so I could plug my phone in and have it charging. So I do that. I shut the doors. Everything's fine. The music comes on, and we're just hanging out for like another 10 minutes, like letting my phone charge before we decide to leave. So 10 minutes go by, and I go, "Hey Kinsley, let's get packed up and head home. Mommy will be home soon. We'll go see her." And I go to put her in the car. My car is running. My phone is on the center console. I put Kinsley in the car, and her car, you have to strap her in like a NASCAR driver in these car seats nowadays. So like I'm strapping her in. She is buckled down tight. She's good. And I shut the door and start walking to my side of the car. And as soon as I got halfway to my side of the car, I hear, and I was like, "Oh no, no, no!" She had just enough arm length to reach to the door on her side and hit the lock button. That's the only button that her little arm could reach. So I'm like looking in the window at her, and she was 2 at the time, and she didn't know what was happening. I was like, I was locked out of the car, and she was inside, and it was on, and I was freaking out. And I'm like, "Oh my God, Kinsley, you need to hit the unlock." And I'm just talking to her, and she's just like, "Why aren't you getting in the car, you idiot?" Like, she's looking at me like playing a game, like she doesn't understand. She's laughing. She has no idea what's going on, and I'm trying to like be one of those like TV negotiators, like talking to somebody how to do something. I'm like, "Kinsley, you need to reach as far as you can. Reach and just reach this button right here." And I'm pointing to the button, and she does not understand what's going on. And after about 10 minutes, I was like, "Oh no, like this is gonna be trouble. I'm gonna have to break the window." So Kinsley's still in the front seat laughing. The music is on too. So like anything that I'm doing on the outside of the car, I have to yell to her. So I'm like, "Reach for this button right here." And like, I was the only one there. We were off the beaten path. There was a little bit of a drive to the main road. There was nobody at the park. It was just me and her and my car, and nobody. Like, I couldn't leave to go flag somebody down because she would have panicked. Like, I was just stuck there. So I started to think that I was just going to have to break the window. I tested the window, and I'm like, all right, I can probably break that if I elbow it really hard. I went to the back passenger window, the farthest one away from Kinsley, to try to break that, and then I was going to crawl through and get it unlocked. But before I did that, I knew that was an option. Before I did that, I wanted to see if there was a different way to get her out. So I just went back to my first original plan, and I told her, I was like, "Kinsley, this is not a laughing matter. This is not funny. I need you to do this for me. Like, I cannot get to you." I started to explain the situation to her, and you could see like her happiness start to turn into confusion.
Yeah.
And she was just like, she thought it was a game, and she didn't want to play anymore. She's like, "I'm done with this. Like, no, like I can't reach that button," because she couldn't. Right. She could only reach the lock side of the button. She could not reach the unlock. And she just kept reaching, and she would just like keep relocking the door. And I'm just trying to get her to stay calm, thinking I'm going to have to break the window. And I tell her to try to wiggle your arm out of the harness. And she starts doing it. It took me a while to get her to realize the situation. But once she realized that she could not like reach anything, and she was solely responsible for getting me into the car, like she realized that. Mm-hmm. And she wiggled her little arms out and was able to reach all the way up and grab the door handle. And she pulled the door handle, the door popped open, and my heart went all the way back up into my chest, because it was in my ass. I was freaking out, panicking that whole time. And it was, I love you so much. It was so scary. Like the amount of relief I felt once she opened that door and I was good. Like I darted in there. I turned the car off. I pulled the keys out. I grabbed my phone. I was like, like nothing bad can happen now. And I was like, thank God. I got straight in the car. We went straight home. And I was just, the whole time we were driving home, I'm like, "Kinsey, like, I'm very proud of you. Like, you kept your composure in a very serious situation, and you were able to be resourceful and get yourself out." And I thought that was amazing. So I was having this, like, come back to reality, everything's okay moment. At the same time, I was so fascinated with the fact that Kinsley, a 2-year-old, was able to understand the situation and find a solution. Like, she could not for the longest time understand what was happening, and then once she did, I saw it in her face. She started to think, and she figured it out, and I was like, wiggle your arm out, and she just got both arms out somehow. I don't know how. Those car seats are tight.
Yeah.
She got both arms out and was able to lean as forward as possible to let me in, and what a relief.
Aww.
I never make that mistake again. Like, there is no, I'm leaving doors open now.
I was about to say, now we always leave a door open. Like, if we're getting the kids in and the keys are not on our person, like, a door is open.
Yep. And there was so many variables in that situation that just could have been worse. Like, she wasn't able to reach or even get near the shifter knob. So if I saw that she could have kicked that thing into drive, I would have broke the window immediately. The heat was not on, luckily, because if the heat was on, I would have broke the window immediately. I didn't want to do that until I exhausted her.
And that makes sense because you did risk then, like,
get
glass getting on her.
Yeah.
And you getting severely injured. And the reality is she was safe.
Yeah.
And you were safe. You just couldn't.
She was safe the whole time. There was just a barrier.
You just couldn't get to her. And, like, it happens all the time where parents it happens.
Yeah.
So you're definitely not the only one. I remember, like, it brings me back to that day because I just remember, like, how upset you were, like, just stressed.
I was in a fog after that. Like, I was just so happy that that was embarrassing. Like, I didn't know. I couldn't call anybody. I couldn't do anything.
Yeah. You felt helpless.
Yeah, that was bad. But looking back on it now, it's hilarious.
Well, and what is also interesting is, like, Kinsley and Kaylin's personalities, because Kaylin would have just cried the entire time.
Kaylin would have panicked, and Kinsley was just like, "This game is dumb." Like,
she's like, "Okay, I'm not having fun anymore. Yeah, I'll let you in."
Yeah. Yep.
But that's how she is, and I feel like she is more of a problem solver in that way.
Yeah.
Just even seeing her around the home. So
she thinks on her feet pretty good.
Yeah. She'll be our street smart girl.
All right. So, don't feel bad if you locked your kids in the car or
they
locked themselves in the car. Like, that was a freak scenario. I didn't think that it was even a possibility, but I learned the hard way on that one. So, moving on here. The next one is Kaylin not wearing any underwear to her doctor's appointment.
Yeah, so I put the kids' clothes in bins. So when they wake up in the morning, they say, okay, what day of the week is it? Wednesday? Oh, get my Wednesday bin. And I do this to avoid fights in the morning on what outfits to wear. I put their entire outfit, shirt, pants, socks, underwear. If I feel like they need a hoodie, I put a zip-up hoodie in there. Like, they have exactly what they need to wear. Mm-hmm. If it's gym day, I know to wear different clothes for gym versus different clothes for art.
Yep. And they're both old enough to be able to open that bin up and get fully dressed by themselves.
Exactly.
So we just let them. We don't. That was something we didn't worry about.
And then
anymore.
they put their dirty clothes in the laundry room. They have a laundry basket in there. They put the dirty clothes in there, shut the door. Well, Kaylin had a doctor appointment and she got dressed. Ben took Kinsley to daycare so she could get on the bus, and I took Kaylin to her doctor appointment. We're sitting at the doctor appointment and the doctor says, she should get her flu shot. And I was like, okay, that's fine. And then all of a sudden Kaylin goes, will they put the shot in my arm? And I kind of thought that was a weird question. But then at the same time, I thought, well, maybe she's just, because she has, like, gym that day, like, maybe she's just nervous about it. Mm-hmm. And the doctor was like, I'm not sure if it'll be your arm, but I think so. And then when the nurse came in, the nurse goes, oh, no, we put it in your leg. So I go to help Kaylin pull her pants down, and she stops me. Like, she holds up her pants. She goes, no, I don't want to do it this way. And she's wearing leggings, right, because she had gym that day. So she keeps trying to pull her legging up over her knee. And then she just looks at the nurse like, is this high enough? And the nurse was like, honey, I need it, like, in your upper
you need
thigh.
To pull your
like,
pants down.
You're going to have to pull your pants down. She goes, no. Kaylin's like, no, I can totally, like, I can do this. So she keeps, like, pulling her legging up. And I finally look at her, I'm like, Kaylin, what is wrong? Like, this is weird. And Kaylin she goes, I have to tell you something. And she whispers and she gets really close to me and she goes, I don't have on any underwear.
And what do? You laugh?
I just started laughing. I was like, well, looks like you're learning the hard way why you should have a clean pair of underwear on every day because you just never know. And the nurse heard me and she just started laughing. She goes, "It's okay, honey. We're all girls here. Like, we just got to get this done and over with."
Get it done.
Kaylin had to lay there butt naked to get a flu shot in her thigh.
and then she had to go to school.
And then she had to go to school
on.
because we were only 2 minutes late for school. So she just missed the morning announcements. But I said, "Honey, like, I don't want you to be late. So we don't have time to go home to put on underwear." So she had to sit all day in leggings with no underwear on.
Bet you $1
she'll never do that again. Yeah.
So
that could not have been, like, I'm just thinking about that, like, wearing leggings without underwear, like, that could not have been comfortable. But anyway, lesson learned.
She's 6, so
Yep.
She says she claims to have forgotten to put underwear on, but I don't know. That's true.
How do you forget?
I think she just was like, I don't need underwear today.
Yeah.
The world doesn't deserve underwear from me today. All right, moving on from that one to what I think is the worst parenting fail that we ever had. This was a real fail.
We had a lot of recovering we had to do from this one.
Yeah, this one took a toll on us for a long time. And that was when the girls were having a meltdown. And we told the girls
can we preface this?
Astronomically terrible.
The worst meltdown I have ever seen.
Ever.
Yeah.
Like, you can't even get an actor on TV
to
be as bad as this.
This was when they were first sleep training.
Yeah.
Like, they had to get reacclimated into sleeping in their own room and not coming into mommy's bed. And also going to bed at a certain time because we were trying to get them ready for school.
Yeah.
We didn't want them to be not getting enough sleep for school. So it was for current parents, it paints the picture for you. Mm-hmm. How horrible this meltdown was.
Yeah, so the meltdown was so bad and the kicking and stomping was so bad, and we live in an apartment, like, we have neighbors.
Like, screaming, like, you would have thought we were murdering them. It was horrible.
Yeah, and we told them that the police were gonna come. And we told them this because we truly felt like at any minute the neighbors could call the police on us because it sounded like a little kid was getting murdered in here.
Yeah,
like, kicking, stomping, thumping, jumping up and down, yelling,
because we're on the second floor, so there's a tenant underneath us.
Yeah.
And then we have condos on 2 sides of us. So we're surrounded by 3 other apartments. And I'm like, one of them has to hear this, if not all of them. Like, I was mortified.
And this was happening between the hours of 7:30 and, like, midnight. Like, it was so
It drug
long.
on for a very long time.
It was the long, like,
Yeah.
you would think, like, I was like, Brittany, I cannot believe that she can still scream. Like, I cannot believe that it's physically possible for her to still be screaming. Like, it was so bad. So we told them that the police were probably going to come. And
what?
And yeah, we told them the police were going to come. And then Kaylin, for the next, I don't know how many days, thought that the police were actually coming to take her away to jail. But it worked that night. Like,
right.
The night we said it, she calmed down and she was like, oh my God, the police might come? Like, that's bad. I guess I'll quiet down and go to sleep. And it was all hunky-dory. Mm-hmm. And then she was still sleep training for days after that.
Yeah, it took about 2 weeks.
Yeah. So every single night was another, I don't want to go to bed, I'm scared, meltdown. And we were just trying to enforce it, like, hey, like, you have to go to bed, like, you have to get over this. This sucks, we know, but, like, you have to be able to soothe yourself and be able to go to sleep in your own bed. Those are the rules. And so every night was terrible, and she would scream, and we would have a little bit of a battle, and then she would go to her bed, we would go to bed, and then every night for I don't know how many nights, she would come out and ask us between 200 and 300 times if the police were coming to take her away.
Because she knew she had been bad.
Yeah.
So she knew, like, her screaming and her tantrums every night, they were loud and that they might get her in trouble. So she would, like, start freaking out. Like, oh my gosh, are the police coming? Like, are they going to come take me away?
She's like, I know I screamed earlier. Like, are they going to be here? And
right.
She would be screaming at the top of her lungs, but are the police coming? Like,
and we were just like, just go to sleep.
Yes. And
oh
ladies and gentlemen, this went on for at least a full week. Every day for a full week at least. It could have went on for weeks. I don't remember exactly how long, but it took her.
I think it was only really a week, but then
it was really bad for a week.
It was really bad for a week, but then like probably for a month, she would always ask if the cops were coming. So we had to undo what we did.
We feel like we scarred her.
We did. So we had to explain to her, yes, if we are way too loud in our apartment after 10 o'clock at night, we could get in trouble. So there's that. But the police are only going to come when real crimes are occurring. So we had to explain to her, like, kind of what some crimes were without also scaring her. Mm-hmm. And then, because you don't want your children to be afraid of policemen and firemen, you know, military. Like, you don't want them to be afraid of those. You don't want to paint this bad picture. They're not the enemy. So then we had to explain to them that they are here to help you.
Yeah.
So, you know, if you're ever in trouble and you need to call the cops, do not be afraid of them. They are here to protect you from the bad people. Mm-hmm. And Kaylin, you are not a bad person. You're just having this meltdown. And we essentially had to kind of apologize to her.
Yeah.
And then Ben came up with this super creative solution that worked. So he sat her down and Kinsley down one night before bed, and he basically just said to them, "You are safe." And magical, those words. And to this day, a year and a half later, before bed, we say good night, and then both girls will say to Ben and I, "Good night, we know that we're safe," and then they go to sleep.
Every single night, still to this day.
Every single night. We know that we're safe.
Yeah.
And it's like they can't go to bed without saying, "We know that we're safe."
Yeah, and they used to not be able to go to bed without saying, "Are the police coming?" Both of them.
And then before that, it was just, "We don't want to go to bed." And actually, the final night of the sleep training is kind of a funny story. Do you remember? So the girls were like freaking, well, Kaylin was freaking out, and Kinsley would just kind of follow suit. Like Kinsley, if Kaylin came into our bedroom, Kinsley would just follow. She'd be quiet. She wouldn't say anything. But Kaylin would be the one like, "I don't want to go to bed."
Oh, are you going to, when Kaylin threw the towel in? Oh, Kaylin threw in the towel.
And then all of a sudden, like, Ben just, like, laid it into them, like, "You're going to bed." When I say laid into them, like, he wasn't nasty, but he was just like, "This is it. Firm voice. You are safe. You are going to bed. And, like, you are not allowed in here." I don't know how that conversation went.
I walked into their room, and I said, "Look, I don't care what you do. If you want to stay up all night and scream, go ahead. I will not come back in this room. Your mother is not coming back in this room. And the more you scream for mommy, the less we're going to come back in this room when you really need us to."
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, I just told her, I was like, "It does not matter what you do. We are not coming back into this room."
And then you just hear Kayla go, "Fine." And then she goes, "Good night, Kinsley." Yep. And she just crawled back into bed, and then Kinsley went to bed, and it was silent. And then after that,
it went away.
It went away.
That second.
And that was when the whole, like, "we are safe" conversation started happening. And then ever since then, it was fine. But it was like you just had to take them to their breaking point when they realized that they're not getting what they want, which is to climb into bed with you. Right. It wasn't no longer working. And I could not have done that without Ben. Hence why I had to wait until he was with me to sleep train them.
I feel like I'm still scarred from that week. That was like hell week.
That was you. That was your parent initiation week.
Oh man, and it was a hell of an initiation.
He didn't have to deal with the, like, waking up every 2 hours to feed them when they were infants, so he got to help with sleep training.
Yeah.
And then he's potty trained Kinsley like it was a breeze.
That was just an accident. Like
It was an accident.
Yeah. Long story short,
all the moms
her
who
uncle
went
came over
weeks.
with the potty, and Kinsley saw the potty after she had tried and failed to be potty trained before, but when Uncle D came over and gave me her potty to try again, she saw it, got excited. I put it on the ground, she peed right in it, like immediately. And from that second on, she was potty trained.
She was potty trained. Like, she just decided, "I'm going to pee in this Minnie Mouse potty.
Today's the day."
Yep.
You know. So that happened. But yeah, so don't ever tell your kids that the police are coming, or if you do.
No, you shouldn't.
No, I mean, like, we only said that because we truly thought it could happen.
Yeah, it was so
you have to preface it and say that it's
in
not,
our apartment.
I don't know, that's a tough situation, because like that we definitely did like give Kaylin a little bit of anxiety from that.
For sure.
But it's all gone now. But man, that was a rough week. So moving on.
Wonderful things that Ben taught my sweet little innocent daughters to say.
Yeah, so this parent fail is the fact that Kinsley and Kaylin say booty hole all the time, and things like when they burp, they don't say excuse me. They say excuse me, or they say I burped out my mouth. Excuse me, burped out my mouth. Like, they just exclaim these things, and they do it in public. And Brittany's not happy about it because I'm the one that says booty hole, and I was the one that, like, if I farted, I wouldn't say excuse me. I would just look at the girls and be like, I tooted. And then somehow they had morphed that into
I burped out
out my mouth. Like,
and Kinsley does exclaim that she tooted when she toots.
I tooted.
And she thinks it's so funny. Yeah. And if somebody else tries to say, I burped my mouth or booty hole, she will tell you, sorry, only Ben and I can say that.
Yeah, that's me and Ben's
That's
word.
me and Ben's thing.
But, like, Kaylin will say it at, like, bad times. Like, times when it doesn't make sense. Like, we did a vlog one time when we were making cookies and going to see Santa as a family. And I, like, had the camera on, and this is in the vlog.
Yeah.
I said, Kaylin, where are we going? And she said, we're going to booty hole. Like, she just likes to say it.
She knows it gets a rise.
Yeah.
Out of mainly me, because I hate it.
Yeah. So she says that at very inopportune times, and it's gotten us some looks before. But moving on from that, the next parent fail involves Kinsley at 2 years old, an early 2.
Pre-potty training.
Stinking up the entire auditorium at Kaylin's orientation for school.
For kindergarten. So it was like this big night for all the kindergarten parents to finally, like, figure out what they're supposed to do as a parent of a child in elementary school. It was only an hour long. You went into this auditorium, and then they talked for about 30 minutes about, like, you know, what to do when your child's sick, what number to call, how lunches work, that kind of stuff. And then the kids got to go visit their classroom and meet the teacher and kind of get acclimated to their classroom and get to show off their classroom to their family. And it was, like I said, only an hour. We forgot, or I should say, I forgot the diaper bag. I forgot diapers, wipes, and I wasn't too worried about it. Like, we were halfway to the school.
Nope, everything was gravy.
And I was like, you know what? It's only an hour. Like, we should be totally fine.
She had just pooped and gotten a new diaper on when we left the diaper bag, so we thought we were good.
We thought we'd be okay.
Oh no. We get there. We're sitting in the back of the auditorium,
which was completely full.
Yeah, it was packed. And Kinsley, like, the show hadn't even started yet. The orientation hadn't even started yet. And Kinsley just decided to take a huge, stinky shit.
Poop.
A poop?
She took a poop.
She took a poop. She took a big old poop.
And it was
there was nothing we could
gross.
do about it. Like, it stunk up the entire place, and people were looking around trying to figure out what it was.
Like, who was it coming from?
Yeah, because there's babies everywhere. Like, it could have been anybody, but we knew.
And everybody's looking around like, change your kid. Yeah. Like, whoever it is, just change. It was so bad. Like, make your eyes water.
Terrible. Like, people were coughing. It was bad. So we knew we had a situation on our hands. We thought that, like, maybe it's just, you know, it's not going to be that long, blah, blah, blah.
And I thought, well, maybe I could, like, clean this up. And I looked in her diaper, and it was one of those, like, super messy situations that I couldn't dispose of without a lot of wipes.
Yeah, so when you went and tried to fix it, you came back and, like, it just had made it stink worse. Like,
yeah, it was not good.
It was not good. So, like, I had to leave the orientation, go find baby wipes and diapers and bring them back so we could change Kinsley. But the closest place was like 8-10 minutes away.
Yeah.
So you had to sit there with Kinsley in her dirty diaper, in the midst of everyone for a half hour before she could get cleaned, and it was so bad. And this is after we had waited 15 minutes to make that decision,
right? Because I was panicking because I was like, we can't leave. Like, Kaylin will be devastated, and I'm like, does Ben know how to buy diapers and wipes? Like, is he going to know what to do? So I had to tell him, like, look, for this size, I don't care what wipes you get at this point.
Super rookie stepdad at that point.
Yeah, and so he succeeded. He came back, and he had to then sit with Kaylin in the classroom because we were at that point of the orientation.
Yep.
and I had to take Kinsley to the school bathroom, and there's no changing tables there, so I had to change. I always actually changed my kids once they could stand. I changed them standing up. It was a skill that I had that I was pretty proud of. So I did that. Parent wins.
There you go.
But yeah, that was bad.
That was bad.
And there was no trash can, I remember, in the bathroom.
No, there was nothing you could do.
So I had to like walk around the school to find a trash can, which I'm sure they weren't happy that I disposed of it there. But like if I carried it around, like the smell was still gonna be there.
The janitor's probably walking through the halls like, why does it stink everywhere?
What is that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so don't leave without diapers and wipes when you have a kid in diapers.
Yeah, especially to go to like the most public of places, like an auditorium full of people. But at least we had decent cover. Like, it wasn't blatantly Kinsley.
Yeah, there was a lot of other babies.
There was a lot of other babies there, so it could have been anyone. That's why everybody was looking around.
Maybe it's their baby. Like, don't look at my baby.
Somebody fix the problem. And we're just like, we forgot the wipes. Oh my God, what are we doing?
Yeah. They probably knew it was us because you and I were like beep, 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 back and forth, like trying to figure this out. The panic.
It was like people were walking around that auditorium like, am I getting warmer? No, that's gross. All right. Moving on to the last parent fail. This parent fail is when Kaylin got an IOU from the Tooth Fairy.
Yeah. So she lost her teeth. She had like a streak. She was just losing a tooth here, a tooth there. Yeah. I'm like, are you pulling these things out? And I totally forgot to go get cash out. Like, totally forgot. And so the next morning I panicked and I was like, Ben, we forgot the Tooth Fairy. So I wrote an IOU on a note and said, I am so sorry you lost your tooth late in the day. I didn't have funds reserved for you.
You wrote her a legit letter.
I wrote a legit letter and said, but I will be back tonight with your funds. Signed, Tooth Fairy. And
Kaylin was 4.
Yeah.
And she couldn't read it, but there was a paragraph note, like, signed and stamped from the Tooth Fairy.
Will be paid with interest. 3.5% APR.
Yeah. But she was cool with it. She didn't care at all. She was just like, I have a letter from the Tooth Fairy. Handwritten. She's real. 100%. Like, I have the proof right here, and I'm 4 years old, and I'm not getting told lies about these mythical creatures. She was stoked about it. We kept the magic alive.
Parent fail turned into a parent win.
Yeah. She probably still has that note like tucked away in her journal or something.
She has like a box of like a picture shoebox thing, if you will, and she does keep letters and pictures and like important little keepsakes in there. So it's possible. I'll have to look.
Yeah, and we had another like a similar parent fail. Like we're bad at remembering to do things like A, the Tooth Fairy, and B, move Elfie.
Oh, yeah, Elf on the Shelf.
Yeah.
Gosh.
There was another time that we forgot to give Kaylin Tooth Fairy money. And I had to ninja my way into her bed.
Oh, yeah.
Her bedroom and slip her the tooth. I think I laid it up against the door with a note and the note said something like, because of the way you were sleeping, I didn't want to wake you, so I left the tooth right here. But really, I just couldn't.
And then
I couldn't get it under.
One time we didn't move Elfie, and I panicked for a second. Kaylin was like, why didn't he move? And Ben and I looked at each other, and then I just looked at Kaylin, and I was like, well, were you good yesterday? And Kaylin was like, I was a little bit bad. And I was like, well, there you have it.
There you have it. Elfie sucked.
So she was good the next day.
Yeah.
And then Elfie moved.
But,
so, I don't know. These were fun. I think our whole concept is the more we share, the more people realize they're not alone.
We're just honest.
And
like,
you're not alone in your parent fails.
She got locked in the car. The girls destroyed the house with paint.
No.
They both like coffee. Kaylin doesn't wear underwear sometimes. They're not afraid of the police anymore, which is good. But they still say booty hole and burped out my mouth.
Mm-hmm. And I tooted.
They're both potty trained now, which that's not a problem anymore. And we probably will forget the Tooth Fairy again. Just letting you know, like, we're adults. But you're an adult. I'm a kid stuck in an adult's body.
I have 3 children.
Yeah.
No, it's just no one's perfect, and a lot of times we post things on Facebook, and you can't compare other people's outsides to your insides type thing, and that's why we're just honest, because we fail too. Everybody does. We are not alone.
I failed math twice in college. Honesty. Hashtag honesty.
That's so random.
Yeah, well, we were being honest, but anyway, thank you guys for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. Let us know what your parenting fails are. Comment below, weigh in. Let us know if you had anything kind of similar to this, because we always like to share the stories and hear the funniness from you guys. If there's anything we can do to help you guys in any way, shape, or form, text Ben and Brittany to 717-422-8318. That is our number, and we will do whatever we can to help you. And that's pretty much it, right? Am I forgetting anything? Like, comment, subscribe, because we have to say that in 2020.
Head over to benandbrittany.net. We're going to be putting up some free resources there to help you.
Yeah, anything that's going to help you like run your life better, and the things that we use that have really changed our lives.
Yeah.
And we have used it could be anything from a spreadsheet to a recipe. Like, you'll get a bunch of free stuff from us that we enjoy. So head over to benandbrittany.com, and thank you guys for watching. Thank you for your continued support, and we will see you in the next podcast.